Hey guys, so I was hoping to do a video tonight with magnetizing the weapons, but unfortunately a hobby shop where I usually get those magnets is out of all the good ones, so I only have these like really big like dreadnought magnets for dreadnought arms and stuff, so a little too big for the weapons, but figured it'd be good to demonstrate some of the conversion stuff I'll be working on, so can cover some of the conversion into the Space Wolf tank, and then you cover magnets at a later time. I ordered some online, so hopefully they'll be here soon so I can wrap this project up. So I have here a bunch of bits that I got from eBay. If you've never bought bits on eBay, this is usually how I've seen them come in these little plastic baggies. So if you're buying them from, I don't know where these people get all these bits from, but sure are a lot on eBay. One thing I wanted to give some tips for buying bits on eBay. I'd say the number one thing to look for is shipping costs. So, you know, you're buying these bits, like, I don't remember how much these were, but say, you know, $5, something like that. So you see, like, oh, $5 for all these bits, that seems pretty good. But then, you know, shipping may be, you know, $10 if it's coming from, I'm in the US, if it's coming from, like, Canada or England, where a lot of the bits seem to come from, it could be, like, $10, so you know, what you thought was $5, you get to the checkout, it's like $10. So some people offer free shipping. Always look for that, you know, kind of look at the total price, not just kind of the listed price. I mean, and you'll see stuff for like, you know, $2, but then yeah, shipping will be like $12, $15. So definitely watch out for that. So what I want to do on the Repulsor, so I'll just start off with some easy stuff. So have these Wulfen Shields, and so what I'm gonna do with these, try to rearrange some of this stuff so you guys can see it in the screen. So what I want to do with these is pick out, you know, what I think are the best ones. And I'm going to be putting these on the Repulsor. And so with these, there's kind of an inherent inertia you can see in the direction of the tails. So, you know, be mindful of that. Like this kind of has, you know, inertia moving in this direction, whereas this one has inertia moving in this direction. So, you know, when you're thinking about kind of putting that on the tank, keep that in mind. So like this, I'll probably kind of put on the door here. And so I'd want to put it on this side because, you know, you're thinking about the tank driving forward. That's the direction that wolf tail would go in. Whereas over here, you know, that kind of doesn't make sense physically. So this one's kind of cool. So I might put this one here, and let's see. Yeah. So then again, this one would not work on that side, even though it's cool. This one, I think the tail is kind of too far up on the side. So yeah, maybe I will do this one on this side. I might have to bend the tail out a little bit. So I've picked these two bits, and so the first thing I want to do is clean them up. Where is my knife? There we go. Should have made sure I had that first. So I'm just going to clean these up like I would with other pieces. So I'm using my hobby knife here to cut off the plastic parts where it connects with the sprue. Cool, so that one's pretty good. And then for this one, do the same thing. Cool. Okay, so those are cleaned up now. So both of them, they have these hands on the back of them. So that's going to be a problem. You know, they'll kind of be wobbly on the surface. So what I'm going to do is take my clippers, and I'm just going to carefully, but you know, don't need to be too careful on the back here, because it is the back of the shield. People aren't going to see this, but I want to cut off as much of the hand and the tubes and kind of all the stuff back here that I can. So something, you know, like that, with all of it just cut off, and I'll do the same thing for this one. Just kind of working around all these pipes, tubes, to get a, you know, a flat surface where they'll sit kind of flat. So you can test it by just pressing them down. So that seems pretty good. So I could glue these, but for things like this, what I found works really well is to actually use green stuff, because then that'll, you know, give it something to sit on. And you know, if you use glue, it might, you know, you may not have too much contact. You might have some pieces that kind of stick out, and so you won't get a good connection between the bit and the surface, because I am mounting these on a flat surface. So you know, you kind of want to, you know, I know because I've done this before that this will work, but you want to, you know, kind of practice, like put it on. How does it look good? You know, how do you think, you know, what's the best way to attach it? Is it green stuff? Is it glue? And so I'm just gonna work this together. So that looks pretty good. Probably don't need this much, so just about, you know, just like a dot of it. So something like that. So just kind of stick it on, and then, so you know, put this on the tank where I want it, and then when I'm happy with it, just kind of press it in. And so the green stuff will do a really nice job, you know, better than glue, than kind of holding it in place. It's a bit more flexible. You can push it around and wait for it to dry. So there is the first shield on that door. And so now I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Okay, so I got the green stuff there. So I just push this now on this side. Oh, okay, so this one I have the wolf tail there, so I actually need a little bit more green stuff. So this is definitely, you know, another advantage of the green stuff over the glue. Once the glue kind of starts to set, especially if you're using a plastic glue, starts to melt the plastic, it can be kind of problematic to have to take it off and put it back on. So okay, so that's pretty good. And so kind of just pushing it around, positioning it, and so now I just wait for that green stuff to fully dry, and I have this you know, cool shield on here. So looking for the next thing, so maybe the next thing I'll do is talk about this big piece, talk about dremeling. So I have a Dremel here, nothing fancy, got for about, you know, 40 bucks at my local hardware store. And so I have a bit on here that's kind of like a sandpapery bit. It has a bit of an angle to it. So that's really good for, you know, cutting down, dremeling off plastic, or actually I was planning on magnetizing these. Like I was going to show, drill a hole through the plastic first, and then push the Dremel through so that it takes that initial drill hole and then, you know, just expands it as the Dremel goes through. But so what we're going to do with this is I have this bit, which is off of the Stormwolf gun, but I'm going to use it as an engine block on the front of the repulsor here. So I did this on the other repulsor that I have. I was very happy with how it came out. So With the Dremel, a couple of real safety things. Definitely recommend wearing glasses because bits of plastic can fly off when you're working with this. And also kind of even, I'd say scarier, is with the Dremel you can introduce a lot of heat because you're creating a lot of friction with the plastic, and so it is possible to actually get melted plastic on this, and then it starts spinning, and so it can actually shoot off like molten plastic. So definitely recommend wearing glasses. But I am going to actually start off with my clippers again. So I want to look at kind of the structure of this. So here I see there's a raised edge above these kind of pipes, so I know I want to cut that down. So I can just start trimming that, and you want to be careful what you're trimming, but I can be a little rough here because I know I'm gonna kind of Dremel that down and smooth it out. So do the other side, cutting this plastic down to be flush with these pipes, so it'll sit on the front of the tank really nice here. And then also on the front here, there's this front part that I know I just want to get rid of this whole thing because I want this front piece to sit right on the hood of the tank. So I can just clip that, and then over here kind of clip this piece. So again, trying to get it so it's all flush, and so there's a good amount of plastic still in the front here, so I can again trim that down with my clippers. And you don't want to trim too much, but trimmers is a really good way of getting rid of a lot of plastic and then going in with the Dremel and cleaning that all up. So as you can see, cut down a lot of plastic here, getting good. Just gonna clean this up a little bit. So that's looking pretty good. So then, let's see, this back piece, I want to get rid of this also, but I need to be very careful because I don't want to hurt these tubes. So I'm going to kind of look for places that you can kind of cut without that you won't need a lot of work or a lot of green stuff to kind of build back up. So you can see there's like a line through here. So I'm gonna actually cut along that line so that it's already kind of in the mold, in the model, so it won't look as strange. It won't look like I've kind of doing a hatchet job, which I am. It'll kind of follow the cuts of the model. Okay, so I got that off. So that, and then you can always make multiple cuts. So this is a whole big piece here. I've already cut along here, so I can just trim there to get rid of that. Just kind of making it a little easier to work with. So get in here, cut that. So it's looking. I think I have the kind of working in broad strokes. I think I have the kind of the core of what I wanted to trim now off of this. So I've done all the big kind of plastic removal with my clippers. So now I put on my safety goggles and get in here with the Dremel. So one thing I think I might explore looking at another Dremel. This is a Dremel 100. It would be nice if I had a Dremel with like a button I could press. So this one is just an on-off switch, which I also kind of find a little dangerous because there's nothing kind of no human kind of contact holding it down. Again, it would just spin until the power in my house is shut off. So that's a little scary. So definitely be careful working with the Dremel. So this is my piece right now. So what I'm going to do is just clean up, just kind of, you want to work slow with this. Dremels are intended for filing metal and wood and stuff like that. So, plastic is a really soft surface. So you can really, kind of destroy this very quickly. So you want to be just gentle. So let me switch it on, get in here, kind of file down the plastic, clean up all these edges, anything that's kind of coming off. Okay, and then on the back side, really want to get this to be a nice flat surface. So looking at kind of the plastic in the tubes, I'm actually going to hold it this way so that I can tell when I'm getting close to those tubes. Again, you want to be very careful around your fingers. Don't want it to touch. So see, I was talking, I wasn't paying attention, kind of went a little out of control. Nothing too damaging, but yeah, again, very, very careful. Okay, do this other side now. More on the front. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So, you can always, use all the tools you have. So you can take your hobby knife and just kind of scrape it around the edges, because the Dremel, as I said, it kind of melts the plastic. So you'll often find you can kind of see it here, probably maybe on the edge, it'll often melt it, and then kind of it'll cool on the edge. So you can take your hobby knife, just like you would clean off, like resin lines, and just go and clean up all of the kind of leftovers. So, kind of working with it with kind of different levels of detail. So kind of like you would a brush, you use your clippers for very broad strokes to clear a lot of plastic. Then use the Dremel to flatten out surfaces, clean up those rough cuts, and then you can get in there with your hobby knife and clean up any excess plastic and edging from the Dremel. Clean up some of this where the Dremel got away from me, and kind of cut up the front. So that's looking really good. I'm really happy with that. I think all I have left is to clean up the back of it. Again, I'll just using the side of the Dremel, I'm just going to go along here, flatten this all out, and then we should be ready to mount it on the front of our repulsor. Okay, that's pretty good. A lot of cleanup work needed. One thing again with the Dremel, because it does heat up, to remember that you may need to let it sit. I think it's getting a little hot now, so good that I just finished. Because that bit can get really hot, and then you literally can turn your plastic into like molten plastic. If you've ever set plastic on fire, you kind of know, it starts smoking, gets a real nasty toxic smell to it, so don't want that. So definitely be careful how long you're using the Dremel for on plastic. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to actually fill like the whole back with green stuff. So it doesn't need to be perfect, but I need it to, you know, not look sloppy, because the better I do here, the less green stuff work I need to do. So, cool. So hopefully that was a good tutorial for you guys on kind of taking a piece that had a lot of plastic around it, chopping that plastic down with the snippers, and then using the Dremel to really, you know, cut the plastic down, shape the plastic, smooth it out, and then again your trusty hobby knife to clean it up from there. So now we should be totally ready to mount this on the front of our repulsor. And so I kind of want to put it like that, where the wolf skull is just dripping off. So for this, I am going to use the glue. So I'm using the Citadel plastic glue to get a really nice union of these two pieces. And then, like I said, on the back I'm going to be using green stuff, but I won't be putting that on until this glue has dried. One thing I do know from putting together the other one is these, you know, back tubes don't make it. They don't touch this front piece. So I actually need to bend those down now. So that's what's really important, especially when, you know, doing conversions and really when putting together any kits, is to kind of, you know, hold it in place first and get a sense of how to lay, where you need glue, and if there are any modifications needed. So again, for this, I just need to kind of use my fingers and carefully bend these tubes down so that when I put it on, they reach this kind of back tier. Again, placing it there, looking at it, needs a little bit more. Again, just working, using my fingers, because I don't want to, you know, break this plastic. So that's looking pretty good. So another handy thing, let me grab right now before I do this, is it's really handy to have these little clamps. So I got these at my not hobby, but you know, woodworking, or you know, like a Home Depot or Ace or something like that. So these are really handy to, you know, when you're gluing side panels on, hold things together. This one has a sliding motion with a release level here, and you squeeze this to squeeze it together. This one's really handy, very quick. You just crunch it down to hold something on. So I'll probably use that on the front here. So something like that. But once I get the Wolf engine block on there, so I can take my glasses off now, see a little better. Okay, let's see. Oh, so here's the Wolf. So I'm going to start off putting the plastic glue on the, because I know that this one is off on the back surface. So I'm going to start by putting the plastic glue all along here up to that third pipe. Then I'm going to put a dot on each pipe and then a dot on this back one. So that should be a pretty good glue area. So then I'm going to first just hold it in place, position it where I want it so that wolf skull is just poking off the front. And then, so I want to be really careful with the clamp here because there's a chance I could, you know, push it out of position. Actually, probably not going to use the clamp on this because I think it's too much. Push it out of position too much. So then I really want these tubes to have contact. So I'm actually going to push those down with my fingers. Just blow on it a little bit, get that glue to start to harden. Make sure pushing these tubes down. So just kind of hang out here for a little bit. need to play some music or a podcast. I've been thinking about playing some hardcore history while I do this. That's usually what I listen to. If you guys haven't listened to that podcast, I highly recommend it. If you think Warhammer lore is crazy, wait till you kind of hear and be reminded about all the craziness that happens on our own planet with World War I, World War II. Very in-depth podcast on history. I enjoy that one a lot. So I'm just trying to make sure there's a really solid connection here. It's not too exciting, just waiting for glue to dry. So I think that's probably pretty good. So now we have this converted wolf skull block. And so maybe talk about kind of the idea for this. So I saw this, I think I definitely seen it on the Stormwolf, and then saw it on eBay. And to me, I think seeing it on eBay, I was browsing for bits, thought it was like super cool. I had known that it came from the Stormwolf, but I didn't really look at what part it was. I didn't kind of put two and two together that it was part of a gun, not part of an engine block. It really looked like an engine block to me. And so I think that's where the idea for using this as an engine block came from. And so I was really happy with how it came out on the Repulsor before. Oh, it looks like I've messed up some of my shields. So definitely something to look out for, and you got multiple kind of things setting and drying. So I should probably leave this alone at this point. But so we got shields on the side. We went through all the steps. This is probably, or definitely is, the most intricate kind of piece of this conversion for the Repulsor. And then this shield on the side. Those are pretty straightforward. This I hope you enjoyed seeing. Think it's probably good for now. I'm going to let this dry, and we'll pick it up again soon. So definitely please subscribe and continue to watch along. If you like what you've seen so far, definitely share this video, and we'll see you soon. Bye.